This is a video snapshot of SafeFish Bivalve Risk Register, which was developed from October 2022 until mid-2023. SafeFish has been working with the Australian seafood industry to facilitate a risk register process, both on a national level and on an individual sector level, to identify the top material, food safety and market access risks that the industry is facing today and into the near future. The key word here is actionable, as it goes beyond identifying the top risks by supporting industry to collaborate and develop actions that can improve their risk culture and preparedness, as well as mitigate the top material risks related to food safety and trade and market access. The framework starts with understanding the context in which an industry or sector develops its business. And then it goes to identify the top most critical risks that are impacting them or could become disruptive in the future. This is done with an expert-based methodology by running interactive virtual sessions mixed with interview and e-storming methods. Participants are nominated for their knowledge and closeness to the sector and industry, and they include researchers, regulators, industry, and government. This process then follows a prioritization and ranking to help industry understand and communicate the top concerns. And this can then lead into developing short and longer term action plans around the critical risks, building collaborations between key stakeholders. Let's look at the result of this process for bivalves. This is inclusive of oysters, scallops, and mussels. This is a bullseye of the top risks identified for bivalve sectors. And the way this works is that we have the most critical risks in the middle, followed by a second tier layer that has high risks and medium high risks. If we look at the top 5 concerns in the middle, we can find the challenges in Vibrio management, the growth and changes in harmful algae blooms and biotoxins, the limited laboratory capabilities and capacities, the low or insufficient data and knowledge sharing and food safety culture, and the required update and review of current standards. In the high tier, we find things like animal health, traceability, monitoring of climate change, the impact of sewage spills, cold chain management, and technology for risk mitigation, or the impact of cleaning chemicals. Now we're going to move into what we call a deep dive of the top risks. And deep diving is just trying to understand them a little bit more by translating the meaning, the key concerns, the actions that are in place, and the opportunities or gaps to address this. Let's look at risk number 1, the challenges in Vibrio risk management. The reason why this has made the top 5 critical risks is that Vibrio is a very big challenge, basically because of its unpredictable nature, its evolutionary fitness, and it's constantly changing. So no matter what we learn and try to deal with Vibrio, it will be continuously adapting. And this impacts growth with climate change events. So the knowledge gaps that we have in Vibrio are many, and specifically on the Vibrio that are in Australia, their pathogenicity, their ability to make an impact both into the animals and into the humans, and all of those need urgent attention. But there's a few actions in place. SafeFish has developed a Vibrio risk roadmap. There is an advisory committee on Vibrio guidance that is based on ASQAC. There's a certain research collaboration for de-risking Vibrio, a program that has been already running built-in capability in bivalves food safety. There are some research surveys and a few retrospective details around the outbreak in South Australia. And there are, of course, a few opportunities to try to close these gaps, which are to increase industry preparedness and awareness around the risks and the incidents, to improve the reporting structures, the data sharing and the data capture, and some actions in cold chain management. Moving along to risk number 2, the growth and change of harmful algae blooms and biotoxins. This is a risk because the distribution of the harmful algae blooms is changing due to freshwater flows, ocean currents, and warmer waters. It is also a concern because the data collecting and knowledge of the impact to the bivalve species from the algae blooms is not at the right level, but as we grow and understand it better, this will allow to anticipate and manage the risk. The actions that we have in place include the state shellfish monitoring programs. The universities, a few of them have PhD projects, and there are some SafeFish scans to codex and to notifications from SPS for emerging regulations that are related to toxins, and some labs are also reporting a few of these emerging toxins. But there's plenty of opportunities, such as the novel techniques and a better knowledge of the ecology to supplement the biotoxin data that we currently have and allow us to improve the risk management, and also the research into emerging toxins in Australia. Risk number 3 is described as the limitations in laboratory capabilities and capacities within Australia. This has become a huge challenge to industry and its trading partners. And there is a need also to improve the knowledge and the ability to use rapid methods to manage the risks on site. There's a few actions in place. There is already a non-technical summary available from SafeFish regarding the Vibrio test methodology so that both industry and regulators can improve their knowledge and understand which are the methods that are fit for purpose. There's also a few other things in development, like the estimation of commercial Vibrio testing required. How much do we need to have for presence detection or for quantitative detection to be able to manage this risk better? The opportunity is there a need for a national Vibrio reference laboratory? That is still a question. And as we have mentioned before, the need for rapid test kits provide an opportunity of point of care testing, but also require good validation because there's various options and not all of them would be the most adequate for certain circumstances. Risk number 4 is an interesting one because this was described by the participants in various ways, but the way we try to summarize it is to describe it as the low or insufficient data and knowledge sharing and the low food safety culture that could be considered within the sector. And that transcribes to or translates to the low awareness, culture and capabilities within the industry around existing and emerging risks, and also around understanding the standards. So industry needs and data is also required, and these have to be aligned with research priorities. There's a few actions in place, like the training program that we have already talked about between SafeFish and UTAS around food safety in bivalve shellfish. There's also this program in itself, the Actionable Risk Register, that is helping people learn a little bit more about these risks and be better aware and better prepared, and building collaborations to try to mitigate these risks. But there's still plenty of opportunity, especially around data sharing, permissions, training, and workshop, and socializing most of this knowledge. The last of our top critical risks was related to the review of standards. So there's a huge need to harmonize and update the current status of regulations and guidelines, especially around Vibrio, and this includes biosecurity requirements, consistency of closure, and better support for industry. There's a few actions in place. Some of them are under development and some have been there for quite some time. And FSANS may consider the update of these standards and through ASQAC, the current guidelines for shellfish and Vibrio are being reviewed. So when we talk to the participants in these sessions around the future actions and aspirations, what else is there? What does good look like in the future? How do we really get on top of these risks and manage them better? The key 5 elements were clustered into knowledge sharing, research, real-time monitoring methods, and national consistent guidance and improvement for infrastructure around flooding. So there's a clear need to improve knowledge sharing, communication, and collaboration across the various stakeholders. There's some knowledge gaps that, if they are fulfilled, they will be better in building solutions for industry, and they're related to real-time monitoring, better understanding of sewage and flood impacts, guidance around standards and regulatory systems, and more harmonizing on the existing regulations. There are already some available publications and knowledge sharing tools, which are in the SafeFish website. They are the National Risk Register Report, the specific Bivalve Risk Register Report, which is related to what we're talking about, but in a more comprehensive and detailed way, and a 2-page summary of what we have talked about. So where to from here? What now? SafeFish and all the relevant stakeholders will continue to expand the knowledge sharing using some of these available tools. There is a need to focus on certain specific areas that can be actioned individually or collectively. It's important that you connect and get started. SafeFish can help to facilitate this collaborative working efforts, and work on raising awareness and preparedness within your industry and within your key stakeholders. Any questions or comments are welcome, and do them through contacting SafeFish at info@safefish.com.au or directly to myself, advisory@kristinhauser.com. Thank you very much.